right, let's say you have found yourself in an unfortunate position to have a warrant out for your arrest. A lot of people want to know, well, what should I do? Well, the first thing you should do if you find out that you do have a warrant is call a lawyer. There's a couple reasons for that. The first is the lawyer may be able to talk to the prosecutor for you and get that warrant quashed. We've been able to do that a number of times. The other thing the lawyer can do is help you coordinate when you might turn yourself in, because that's usually the best route. There's hardly anything I could think of that's more disruptive, embarrassing, humiliating, fill in the blank with your work or your family than getting arrested while you're on the job or maybe at your kid's birthday party or something like that. The other thing you don't want to do is maybe turn yourself in at 4 o'clock on a Friday, especially on a 3-day weekend, unless you want to spend a couple extra days in jail that you didn't need to spend in jail. So a lawyer can work with you to understand the best time to turn yourself in based on any particular court schedule. So, you know, we practice all throughout Wyoming in dozens of different courts throughout the state. So we have a good sense of when different courts do their different hearings and when would be a good time to turn yourself in to minimize the jail time that you spend before you have that first hearing. Another thing that we can do is also set you up with a bondsman so that when you have your initial appearance and you go into court and they set your bail, you have that lined up already. So you don't sit there and wait another day while your family or friends are trying to get you set up with a bondsman to help you post your bail if you need to go that route. So that's another good reason. We have good working relationships with bondsmen all throughout the state and can help coordinate that so you can minimize your time once you have that initial appearance. One of the things you have a right to in Wyoming is a pretrial release. What that means is you can get out on bail while your case is pending. And usually this happens pretty automatically. You get booked in and then you'll get set for a hearing, initial appearance. And if it's a misdemeanor, you can go in and enter a plea and arraignment at the same time. But every once in a while, folks get arrested in the county maybe that's different than the crime that they were accused of committing. And when that happens, sometimes law enforcement can be pretty stubborn about, or lazy, I don't even know which it is, about getting you to your court for your hearing. Well, in Wyoming, you have a right to this pretrial release, and they have to tell you within 4 hours of booking you in that you have a right to that and that you can request it in writing. They have to provide the writing materials for you, pen and paper, and if they have a specific form they want you to use, then they got to give that to you too. And the point of that is so you can make the request to the judge, and they have to present that request to the judge as soon as possible. If it's during business hours, they're supposed to do it the same day, but in no event should it be longer than 72 hours. So the reason that matters is if you've been booked into jail and it's been 4 hours or more, and they haven't told you that you have a right to request pretrial release, well, they're in violation and they should do that. So knowledge is power, and that's a helpful thing to know because it can mean the difference between spending extra days in jail before you even have your initial appearance, and we've seen it happen. The other question we get a lot about bail is, I've only got a certain amount of money, I've got limited funds, and so I need to know, should I post bail or should I hire a lawyer? 99% of the time, I'm going to tell you to hire a lawyer. Number one, a good lawyer can help you negotiate that bail and get much more favorable terms to that, often lowering the price because the prosecution is going to come in and they're going to say, oh, this person's horrible and they're a menace to society, and you got to throw the book at them, so to speak, with respect to their bail. But there are factors to consider, and we know those factors, and a good lawyer can make the right arguments to the judge to help the judge understand why you have good contacts with the community, why you're not going to skip town, and why you're responsible and are going to show up to all your hearings. So that's a really good reason to have an attorney on your side before you go in for that initial appearance. The only time that I consider maybe having someone post bail is if they have a really good paying job and they've been in contact with their employer and their boss says, look, we'll let you keep your job, but you got to keep showing up to work. We're going to have to let you go if you can't make it into work, but as long as you can work, we'll let it ride while this case is going to see what happens. We trust you. You're, valuable member of our team or whatever. And so sometimes in those situations, we'll say to someone, it probably is in your best interest to take those limited funds if you can't afford both at the same time. Post your bail, get out, and keep your job so you can continue to earn money, support your family, and then raise the funds that you need to hire a lawyer as soon as possible after that.